Good morning, everybody. This is Philip Bain, the Managing Director of Smart Cities Council. I'm calling in from Washington, D.C., so I'm on East Coast U.S. time. Really appreciate those of you that are calling in from other jurisdictions, other places in the world, other time zones. Thank you for your time. We will keep this short and concise. So right now, what we're doing is we are going to go through and show you the key aspects of what it takes to be successful in applying for this 2020 Global Readiness Challenge. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the questions. We'll monitor those questions and we'll answer them if we have time at the end. If not, we will answer them individually. So the things we're going to cover is that we think the application should only take about 3 hours or less. I'm going to give you some shortcuts today that'll actually make it less time. We want to review why you should participate, how you can improve your chances of winning, breezing through the questions. We really want to focus on projects and talk a little bit about that. And then you'll get a copy of this presentation afterwards and you can look at additional resources. So it really is less than 3 hours to join a global community of cities helping cities. And we'll review what that means. It's not a competition. It's really about every city that participates wins. So we put cities first, and we're trying to set you up in a way that you can share expert advice, you can collaborate, you can do stakeholder engagement, you can use expert replicable planning roadmaps. These are all aspects of the program that sort of conforms to our philosophy that everybody should win. This is not about one leading city broadcasting that they've won awards and that they're somehow better than all other cities. This is about cities working together to improve outcomes one city at a time to basically save the planet. There's no cost to participate. There's no cost to get a free license to Smart Cities Activator, which you'll find reduces the time, expense, and risk of planning your projects. As questions are answered, you'll be able to see aggregated, anonymized data. This is one of the benefits, and when we talk about the odds of winning, you'll understand why continual participation will allow you to see aggregated answers from more and more cities. Another aspect of this is that once you get access to Activator Plan, which is after you hit the submit button, you'll be able to start putting projects into your dashboard and see what people throughout your city are planning. You'll be able to see it in multiple languages. Here it's Portuguese. You'll also get expert roadmaps. We just completed some work with the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we found that one of the key use cases for IT and IoT was device and asset management. And so therefore we've prepared an expert roadmap that actually tells you how to go about starting such a program. And you'll see many more expert roadmaps published through the platform as time goes by. Some of them by experts, some of them by cities, and maybe even your own project will become an expert roadmap for other cities to use. You can also see, once you get to Activator Plan, what other cities are planning. The concept here is that not only do you want to know what's going on in your own city, but it would help you to know what's going on in your region. So we're working with one of our winners in this past year, San Diego, and we're putting together all the projects from the 18 cities, the port, and the airport so that they somehow can do some regional planning. And the best way to do that is to understand what each of them thinks are their own particular needs and how they're going about planning to solve those issues or needs. You can see high-level information about those projects, nothing detailed, but just high-level information. You can also reach out to these other cities and say, hey, let's talk about this, or let's get together and collaborate online and see if we can both come up with some common solutions to meet our common problems. And finally, there's ways that you can link through to other information. Here's where there's a project entered by the Seoul Metropolitan Government, and then it links to their own web page where they talk about the project and what they're doing. You can also collaborate. We have 10 cities participating in Australia, New Zealand, about how to do digital twins. Here's a connected intersection collaboration. So the key aspect of this is to understand that you can keep applying over and over again. But if you start now and get ready and submit by March 16th, you'll have a much better chance of winning. We figure that right now there are about 30 applicants, you'll have about a 10% chance. But as we get to the fall round, it decreases. As we get to the winter round, it further decreases. We're also going to be bringing on different types of sponsorships where if you're living in a particular state or country, you may win an award just for that state or country, or in the case of utilities, a service area. And so there's just going to be more and more cities applying, and thus it's going to be harder to win. Also, early on in this process, it's going to be easier to do hands-on mentoring, and that's a really important aspect of this. So just quickly, again, you'll get this in the presentation copy that you get after the webinar. But there are non-scored questions and there are scored questions, and we're going to focus a little bit on that next. One of the things I'll show you shortly is that a lot of the questions have as an answer, don't know. It's perfectly legitimate to answer you don't know to a non-scored question. Now, it doesn't help us in terms of aggregating data, but legitimately you may not know whether your city is undertaking a blockchain or 5G project or has a privacy program. We get that. And so therefore, we don't want you to stress out about that. The second thing that you really need to focus on is adding projects. That's the key to winning this. Not just if you have one project, that's fine, but the more projects you enter that show sort of impact, scalability, replicability, projects that other cities could use, you're going to have a greater chance of winning. So now what I'm going to do before we go over key dates is just take you quickly through the application and show you what I'm talking about. Many of you have already seen this. This is the dashboard. If you click on the dashboard, any of the titles on the right-hand side, you'll go to that question set. We do have what we call a lead city of the application. So therefore, if you were like San Diego, where you had multiple jurisdictions maybe applying together, you would take one city and make that the lead. Here, under organizations supporting, you would list all the other cities. Going back to what I was talking about in terms of not knowing an answer. So here you get to a question, and I'll increase it just so you can see it, about do you have a citywide privacy policy? And one of the options is don't know. So again, we prefer that you not answer it with a don't know, but we want to make the point that pretty much from this point on until you get to projects, you could answer every question with don't know. Doesn't serve the overall community purpose, but it certainly would get you through the application, which is perfectly acceptable. The second point I want to show you is the real key, which is projects, because we think now, 10 years into the smart city sector sort of cycle, cities have to stop talking about just having roadmaps or smart city committees or leaders. It's more about how your projects show integrated IoT that are delivering livability, workability, and sustainability, and busting the silos in your city. That's what this is about, and that's what you need to show. So when you get to the project area, what you do is if you come down to where my cursor is, where it says add new item, you simply type in the project. So this could be your first project, a smart streetlight project. Obviously, if you don't know how to spell like me, the system will show you. So you add that, and then you go to the next, and let's say your next project is smart parking. And you haven't entered any details yet, but what you're just doing is maybe setting this up. So the third one is smart waste. So now you've entered these projects and you can see how you can delete them. But if you look here on the right-hand side where the dashboard was, is now you can see your projects. They're in there. So they're ready to be, the data is ready to be entered. So you could go to your smart projects, parking project, there it is. You could start entering the metadata fields. So it's really important if you want to be successful in this application, both for yourself and for the other cities that are participating, that you consider going about entering multiple projects. Now, once you get these projects entered, the real key is for scoring is what we call integrating all your answers. So if you look down on the right-hand side again, you click on it, this is really what this is about. So once you've identified your projects and given us some data, we really want to know what impact your projects are going to have on your city. Are they going to reduce traffic congestion? Are they going to improve public safety? And do you have some kind of metric that allows you to measure this? And we've given you model answers in these questions to make it easier for you to sort of frame your questions. But the first answer, the first question and answer is really about how this impacts your city. The second one is, does this scale? This is really important with IoT. The technology is ubiquitous, communications is ubiquitous, electricity is ubiquitous, data sharing and data analysis can be ubiquitous. So the question is can you replicate this project throughout your region, throughout your city, so you're sharing data, possibly you're using a new method for financing or managing the project. So maybe you're using an agile methodology. These are things that we're encouraging you to look at and talk about. And then finally, is it possible that these projects are going to help other cities globally? And of course, when we talk about, rapid urbanization around the world, climate change, traffic congestion, air pollution, water flooding from climate change, these are things that are common throughout the world. And if you're finding ways to solve this, one of the key things we're attempting with this challenge is to motivate you to share your solutions with other cities around the world. So as you can see, it's not just about the projects, which we do want. The more projects, probably the better. It's going to depend on the quality of the projects ultimately, though. So with that said, let's go back to the presentation. The key dates are March 16th for submitting. And as I've said, you have a much better chance of winning a capacity development program, which could be anything from a roadmap to a workshop, depending on what you need, if you in fact participate early. And if you participate early, you can also participate often. So there's nothing that stops you from participating for the fall round, the winter round, or if you find that your local utility or state sponsors in some way an award for where your city is located, then you'll also be able to participate in that. There are additional resources in the presentation we'll send, and there's support all around the world. So there are people that you can talk to about participating. They can guide you in your same time zone. They can walk you through the application or activator plan. And then finally, the overall benefits for finalists, their travel scholarships to Smart City Week events, but there's knowledge sharing, collaborative planning, and ultimately you'll be able to see the analytics and trend reports that result from participation in the challenge. So I've finished. We do have some questions, so I'm going to look. And one of the questions is about, is this truly global? And yes, the answer is yes, it is truly global. We are attempting to get cities from all around the world to participate. And those cities, once they participate and put their projects in, if they're a winner or a finalist, if they're a finalist, they'll be flown to the appropriate Smart Cities Week event, be it in Australia, India, the United States. We'll work out a form for them to get the right kind of capacity development. And while I don't want to reveal some of the countries that have already signed up to participate, it is truly global, and it's going to be very interesting to see which cities really step up and put their projects in and start saying, yes, we can participate in this program where cities help cities. That was the last question, and so with that, we're going to end the webinar, and we've got 28 seconds to go. I don't see any more questions. Thank you very much for your time, and you'll get a copy of this either later today or first thing tomorrow. Thank you.